Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Georgia Chiro Connection. I'm Dr. Steve Wernicke here with James Chester of Chiro Hustle fame. James, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. All right, so you're going to be speaking to the Georgia Council of Chiropractic at this weekend's convention in Atlanta. And I'd love to hear a little bit about what you plan on talking about this weekend.
Well, I open up our show every time and I say, this is our big why. Why do we do what we do? Well, first things first is freedom of speech is important. And I always say that I believe chiropractic is one of the most important parts to keep freedom of speech alive within the medical world, because chiropractors, they talk about things that other medical providers don't. They have a philosophy, they have a science, they have an art. So I'm going to be talking about medical freedom when it comes to being a chiropractor. I'm going to be talking about family health freedom when it comes in relation to chiropractic. I'll be talking about B.J. Palmer's Sacred Trust and why it's important to support that and protect it. And we talk about subluxation-based chiropractic, innate intelligence, and universal intelligence. So I'm going to talk about all that, and I'll throw in some 33 principles in there too, and censorship and things like that. So really powerful to get people to understand that it's okay to take action, and it's okay to be a great resource for the people that don't know where to go or who to trust for their information. And that's the talk in a nutshell.
Wow, that's going to be awesome, powerful stuff. You're going to need like the whole weekend just to talk about all that, I think.
It's funny, as fast as I talk and the cadence I deliver in, I'm going to try to pace myself with my auto regulation to where I get the message to people with the proper tone and the proper delivery to where people at least have a chance to take some notes.
Yeah. So you brought up the certainly medical freedom and the censorship in the profession. You have any like particularly powerful stories of someone in our profession that you found to be getting silenced?
Well, at one point we would have 60 people live on our Facebook feeds, like an interview like this. Now we get two or three.
Wow. And so you feel like that's some sort of algorithm that's steering people away from you and making it harder for people to find you?
I just think that the people that control the platforms of mainstream social media are not congruent with natural health care, and they're not congruent with the chiropractic message. So if I have the #1 show in the world for chiropractors, why wouldn't they come towards me and cinch down on my exposure to our audience that walks and marches to a different drummer? So I think that I've been personally exposed to that type of shadow banning and censorship.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And speaking of which, where is your show available on? So I've seen it on YouTube, and it sounds like you said it also streams on Facebook. What other platforms do you go on?
I think the best way, this is where I try to guide everybody to, is my own digital real estate, which is my website, chirohustle.com. I like everybody to go there. I don't need more views or likes or shares within social media. Actually, I don't think that vanity metrics really matter long term. I think people coming to my website, chirohustle.com, is probably the best resource for anyone, because then they can see who our sponsors are. They can see all the things that are necessary.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, nobody's going to be able to silence you on your own platform. So that certainly makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and we do disseminate. Spotify is a big one. We put it out to as many different platforms as possible. We actually do something that not a lot of podcasts have the capacity to do. We have 6 months of pre-recorded content. So we drop episodes Mondays and Thursdays, and we have enough content right now, if I stopped producing for the next 6 months, to put out a show every week, twice a week for the next 6 months.
Wow, that's quite impressive. I think most of us in the profession would love to just be able to keep up putting out a little content every so often, let alone putting it out the kind of rate and pace that you're doing.
Well, I do it because, once again, I don't have a full-time practice. I'm not a chiropractor. I'm a journalist by trade. and marketer. And I said, well, what can I do to add more value to chiropractic? And I heard this guy named Joe Borio like 11 years ago on the stage in Denver at Mile High Chiropractic Weekend talking about tell the story, tell the story, tell the story. So I just took it and ran with it. And now all we do is tell chiropractic stories at the tune of about 1,300 interviews in the past 6.5 years.
Wow, that's phenomenal. So, speaking of which, how did you become one of the thought leaders in chiropractic without actually becoming a chiropractor? What's your path and what's your story of how you got into chiropractic in the way you have?
Well, it's twofold. I worked in a clinic as a chiropractic biophysics traction tech, the most researched chiropractic group out there. They're publishing more research than any other group out there is chiropractic biophysics. If you guys go to idealspine.com, you can see all the work that Don Harrison and Deed Harrison, his son, are producing with their group. It's fascinating. So I started working in a clinic helping people. And I didn't know that that was my path in life. I was working as a bartender in Davenport, Iowa, where I grew up. I was 30 years old, so that's 15 years ago. And the doc that was working at the bar with me as a piano bar, so he had to ID everybody and took like a fee for people to come in. And he saw how I worked with everybody. And he's like, dude, you like have some intangibles. You remember everybody's name. You make everybody feel special. Everybody knows you. They're coming here to see you, not the pianos. He's like, when I finish school, do you think that you would like to help me run my office? I was like, bro, I don't know anything about chiropractic except for when I get adjusted, I feel better. He's like, perfect. I'll teach you everything you need to know. So that's been my journey. 15 years ago, I started reading x-rays with the docs. I started doing setups and helping change people's spines. I started doing rehab with them and started getting people better. And I was like,
very cool.
Why doesn't anybody else that I meet know what chiropractic really does? So I was like, I think I could make a career out of this.
Yep. So that was there working in a practice, but you've gotten out of working in at least one specific chiropractic practice, and now you've moved into doing the podcast. But it sounds like you've also got some other options available to chiropractors to help them grow and build their practice.
Yeah, I believe in marketing, and I've had the microscope on, man. I've been looking at like what's happened, what's trending, how does it work, what doesn't work, who's the snake oil salesman to chiropractors, like who are the people that are not earning their keep in the marketing world. And I just had a call right before this about like why aren't digital ads as effective as they used to be? Well,
That's a great question.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you why. Because a lot of the people that were on these platforms like Facebook and Instagram that people want to put their money into, those people don't like medical health freedom. They're actually working in a different path. So when we put money into them, it's actually working against us. And most of the people that were on those platforms that were like ideal clients at one point, 3, 4, 5 years ago, they've turned their back on those social media platforms because they realize the censorship. They realize that that's not the playground they want to play on anymore. So a lot of those people have moved on to Substack and Rumble and different platforms that they don't censor people. So I think a lot of the people that were at that point, and we have input asphasia. People are tired of ads in their newsfeed. They are tired of it. And chiropractors are tired of people trying to take the offer as such a lowball offer on those ads. So there's just lack of congruency with the digital platforms. So I really believe people have to go back to old school marketing. They have to join their chamber of commerce. They have to do lunch and learns. They have to do dinner with the docs. They actually have to get an audience of humans. And they have to get real people in front of them. They have to go out and do spinal screenings or scheduling events like I do. So there's a whole different transition back to real life connection. And I think people really want to be invited in. They want to have more sense of community. And the people are just waiting for you to say, hey, come and be a part of my community. I'm a chiropractor and I can show you how we can help you. So
yeah. In a world where everything's gone so virtual, being physically present with someone is so powerful these days.
And, one of my friends, he does mission trips. He's done like 113 down to the Dominican Republic and Haiti. And they call those, when he goes down there, they call them touch healers. And I think there's a lot to be said about human touch. and getting knee to knee with somebody and listening to them and letting them do a proper intake of a consultation. What's going on? How did you do that? What can we do to help that? Like, you don't get that from the white coats. The white
No.
coats don't do that. So when you actually do get somebody that actually cares about your physiology and your anatomy, and they can do a proper exam on you and show you through x-ray what's going on, now we have a new wave of opportunity for people to actually be acknowledged, seen, and heard, and actually taken care of with touch.
Yeah, touch is so powerful. We've got the ability to connect with patients in a way that the white coats never can, because they're fairly touch adverse. But you can communicate so much more through touch than you can through words. You know, they say like 80% of all communication is nonverbal, and certainly touch is a big, big part of that.
Yeah, so I've been storing up knowledge to share with chiropractors for a long time. And it's because I got curious and I asked 1,300 chiropractors about their profession. So I've done that for 6.5 years now, and I built like my own brain trust of knowledge where I can see the profession getting better.
Speaking of which, what do you think is the thing that chiropractic and chiropractors need to do more than anything else to make this profession better? You got a unique perspective, not being, in the trenches with us, but still being part of our team. What would you say you think is the thing we need to handle the most?
Making the education more affordable. I think it's a huge thing. Getting out of bed with the banks and student loan companies and allowing people to have a fair price point for education, I think would be a huge win. And I think that when you think about the hierarchy of who controls the student loans, who controls the banks, it's not the chiropractors. It's the big pharma companies. It's the big BlackRocks. It's the big organizations that might not want chiropractic. And I just think that if we could make the whole education model to where a chiropractor comes out of school and they don't have to go through some type of a medical exam, 4 parts, doing boards, I think that that would be a huge win for chiropractic. Because I don't think that much of what a chiropractor has to do for education actually makes them a competent chiropractor.
No, that's very true. We spend a lot of time learning stuff that we'll really never use and isn't that helpful, and so much that we really do need, and when once we get into practice, that really never gets touched and brought up in school at all. I would certainly say if we could revamp the education system, that'd be pretty powerful. It's interesting you brought up the cost of education. I just had lunch with another chiropractor just before we got onto this little podcast here, and that doctor was on the board of alumni with a smaller, kind of like middle-sized chiropractic school that I won't name, and he let me know that the past president of that school got let go because the board of alumni found out that the board of directors was paying him $1.2 million a year to be a president. And that seems like a bit excessive of a salary when you're talking about that chiropractic school is so unnecessarily expensive and students are coming out with such significant amounts of debt. And one of the things I've been up against here is that the cost of hiring an associate has skyrocketed. Like, obviously, the salary that everybody earns should be gradually going up and up and up, but it seemed like there was a certain point roughly 5 years ago where it just radically jumped instead of continuously gradually increasing. And for a long time, chiropractors were really guilty of not paying associates a fair salary and paying what they were worth. But this really gotten to the point where now I think a lot of associates are expecting to get paid more than most people in private practice earn. And it seems the schools are preparing them that that's what they should be able to expect.
Well, I think there's a teeter-totter effect to that. Like you mentioned, for a long time, they were undervalued. And
for sure.
For a long time, they'll be overvalued. And the problem is that the ability to charge for chiropractic services hasn't changed.
No, that's true. Yeah. The amount that we get paid for an adjustment hasn't really gone up that significantly. No. Incrementally, but not quadruple the way that salaries are. When I first got out of chiropractic school 25 years ago, I was expecting to get $25,000 a year, and that's what I got in my first year. Now I think the kids are expecting to get about $100,000 a year. It's quadrupled.
And are they wrong for that?
Um, I guess it depends on the individual doc. There's some of them that are absolutely worth 100,000, and there's some of them that are probably not worth much more than that 25,000.
Well, it's because they're taking philosophy out of the schools. It's because the kids come out, they don't know how to adjust. And it's because they don't have the capacity to come into a residency program as an associate and know that it's going to take 2 to 3 years outside of school to actually get your feet under you to know how to run an office and to be a practitioner.
Yeah,
We skip that step. One
yeah,
of my mentors would always tell me if we go out of sequence with anything, we have to go back and repeat it.
yeah,
So we've gone out of sequencing from, hey, you get a diploma, and this is where we fail, is that next step.
yeah, yeah. That's all very, very true. And another, I think, big dynamic in that is that, both a blessing and a curse to the profession is that more and more people are deciding to become chiropractors that haven't had their own firsthand miracle story, right? So for me, I had a miracle case. Chiropractic completely revolutionized my childhood and gave me a whole different quality of life than I ever had before. And so I knew I was going to be a chiropractor since I was 12 years old. I knew where I was going to go to school for it since I was 14. But now we have so many people going into chiropractic school just because this top 10 list said that this was a good profession. And so, on one hand, it's great that we're getting more involvement for the community, and more people want to become chiropractors. Uh, but it doesn't turn out the same kind of person. I don't think people are coming out of school quite as full of fire and piss and vinegar, ready to change the world when, I got into this because it seemed like it'd be a good career.
Yeah, it's just a change of times.
Yeah, it is.
There's different
So,
opportunities for the people that are going into school, and they see it with a different lens.
yeah, I guess I don't know that I have the answer to this myself yet either, but we've got to figure out how to take those people who are getting into chiropractic because it seems like a good profession and get them full of fire and piss and vinegar and on the same mission purpose that they want to change the world instead of I just want to earn a decent living.
Well, that starts with leadership, and that
It
starts
does.
with the people that are their professors. That
Yeah,
starts with the people that are running the schools. That starts with the people that are running the state associations. That starts with an above down
it does. Yeah.
process.
Yeah. I've made some efforts to try to get involved with the schools, and there isn't a school particularly close to me. I've got three of them that are about 3.5 hours away, but nothing that's, just a short drive down the road from me. But I've made some efforts to try to get involved, and I've gotten a bit of resistance from the schools. I wish they were a little more accepting of successful docs, especially, but docs that just want to be involved and just want to try to help to nurture students. But I understand they're also trying to be protective and not let everybody um, try to turn their students into a mill and a source for their own personal gain. So I do get that. But you must have had quite a lot of involvement with prospective students over the years and with probably some current active students, whether it be just through the podcast or through some of the other things you're involved in. Tell me about what kind of some of the experience you're having with students are here these days.
Well, I'll go back to that original thing that you were mentioning about access. And one of the guys that I started watching early on in my career as a marketer, his name was Gary Vaynerchuk. And
Yeah.
he wrote a book called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And it stands for give, 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 ask. And I think if
Huh.
we all gave more, 3 times out of 4, we could ask with more effectiveness.
Right.
And what I've learned is that there is the law of reciprocity from Robert Cialdini's book, The
Yeah.
Power of Influence, that if you
Yeah.
think about it, if you give, 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 people feel the reciprocity cycle to give something back to you. So I think when you come with the idea that I want to add value and I want to add more value and more value, now I get to come down and speak to your guys' group as a non-chiropractor because I've added so much value over the year. Now people are asking me to become involved in their organizations.
No
So
doubt.
when we think about the students, um, they all want to be a part of something. That's the new model. Like if you can build a community for them outside of school and you can start to nurture them and build a relationship with them, that's when you get the light bulb moments for them. So treat them like new patients. Have lunch and learns on campuses. Like say, hey, we're coming down to feed you, and I'm going to give a 20-minute talk on opportunities to become an associate at my office even. And it's going to be an easier path to success. But you have to give if you want to get. And givers gain.
Very true. Yeah, no doubt about that. Yeah, that law of reciprocity certainly is a very, very effective tool that can be applied in lots of ways with this. So I'll certainly be looking for how I can get more involved with some of the schools in the area, taking those thoughts and ideas in mind and see what I can do to make that a little bit more productive with my efforts to try to influence the next generation of chiropractors and try to make sure that we get people who've got the fire and have got the passion and not just looking for a good way to make a living.
Just think about this. Off-campus dinners with the docs for the docs.
Yeah.
Where you invite the next generation of chiropractors to have dinner with you, and you can build that relationship with them.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Dinner with the docs for the docs to be, for sure. Patent pending, everybody. Don't be stealing this idea. Okay, cool. All right, so I guess going back to some of the things that you are currently offering. I did ask the question already once about what can you do to help people grow their practice, but off camera before this podcast started, you told me something about doing not spinal screenings, you said, but more like scheduling events. And so I used to do screenings all the time. They were definitely a very effective tool, although not as frequent as I wish they were, but certainly they were very powerful and effective when I did them. And it seemed like the opportunities for that had kind of dried up. I wasn't really seeing the places that I could go and set up and do screenings nearly as often as was the case once upon a time. But you seem to be still finding lots of great opportunities there. What can you tell the viewers here about how they can still use this as a tool in today's society?
Well, I'll just talk very systematically. You should get one major event every quarter, whether it's a home and garden show, whether it's a RV show, whether it's a county fair, state fair, whatever's close to you within 7 miles. I also say that you should get into as many farmers markets that you can and show up.
Farmers markets, yeah.
I went on a path January 12th of 2016. For the next 36 months, I did 28 scheduling events a month. So I did 600 events in 2.5 years. If they gave me a booth at a dog show, I would go. If they'd give me a booth at a car show, I would go. If they gave me a booth at a 5K, a 10K, a marathon, a half marathon, a walk, I would go. So there's different levels of influence that you can make on the amount of people that show up. Some of these you're going to get 5 people. Some of them it's a 10-hour day on the weekend, and it's another 10-hour day on the weekend, and another 10-hour day on the weekend. So you're working 30 hours in 3 days, and you might get 30 to 50 new patients on those ones. You might go to a farmer's market. It's a 4-hour event. You might get 3 families. You might go to a street festival, and it runs from 6 to 10 p.m. You might get 9 people or 10 people. So there's a different amount of people that will be attracted to what you're doing, and depends on the event that you choose to do. It's all time spent, but it's all new patients that you can earn.
Yeah. But obviously, docs are busy. We're kind of a lot of times burning ourselves out in practice already as it is, and sure do need a little bit of that free time on the weekend to try to recoup, recover, and be at our best for patients again on Monday morning. And you had said that you had a system for doing these without the doctor there and having staff do it. Is that what I understood?
Actually, I don't even allow the doctor to go with me.
Wow. Don't even allow them to go.
No.
That would certainly be refreshing and welcome.
I go with myself. I require 1 staff member with me. Sometimes if it's a big event, I'll bring 2 people with me, and not a staff. Well, the staff member plus another person like myself I'll come out with. And we have fun. We work the event for the office. We keep very strong stats. We charge everybody that comes in. We gamify it. We make it interesting for people to come talk to us. It's really something to see. And we've done a really good job with this over the years. And docs now, I'm dusting off my 2024 year to have at least 2 to 3 weekends a month that I'm giving opportunities for docs to hire me to come out and to boots on the ground, train their staff on how to do this, and to go out there and to work this event for the office. And like I said, I have fun with it. It's a lot of people that do this type of work, they really just don't like it. That's why their results stink. I like doing this stuff. So I come out, I have fun with it, and we help grow the practice.
Yeah. So back when I was doing these things all the time, I did have a blast doing them. It was a lot of fun. The part that was not so fun was being at this show all day Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday having to go into one of the busiest days of practice because we just scheduled all these people. But if you've got a situation where the doc doesn't have to be there, you can get a whole bunch of people scheduled and make it to where the doc gets to show up Monday to a busy day but has had the whole weekend to recover. Man, that sounds awesome. I wish something like that was around when I was doing that, but maybe it's something I need to look into now.
Well, I'm always willing to talk to anybody that watches this to come out and to do that type of work with them and to support them and see how I can, make 2024 the best year for chiropractic.
We could certainly use it. The profession could use it. I think the country could use it. Humanity could definitely use it. There's no doubt about that. And I love the fact that you said that the people who come in from these events, that you charge them, because there's a total difference in how likely people are to show up if they've committed something, if they got some skin in the game versus, yeah, sure, I'll go ahead and schedule. Why not?
Well, in marketing, Dr. Steve, people pay for what they pay attention to, or they pay attention to what they pay for. So
Yeah.
if people pay for something and you build that trust in them, would you like to hear the segment that I do when somebody actually schedules with me?
Sure.
So I say, okay,
That'd
so you're coming into Dr. Steve's clinic. We'll see you next Tuesday at 9 a.m. Here's the date. Here's the time. Here's the day. Here's the little map of where we're at. We're going to call you, send you an email and a text message to just assure that you have everything that you need. If you have any questions, our phone number is right here. Feel free to call us. You pay $29 for these first 2 visits. You're going to get an exam, consultation, health history on your first visit. If you have insurance and we take insurance, you can bring that in. If not, no problem. Second visit, you're going to come back. We're going to tell you what we found, how much concern there's. We're going to tell you how we can help you. At that time, you'll get your first chiropractic adjustment. I call this the relationship builder. If you like us, you think we're a great fit for you, you'll stick with us. If you come in for these first 2 visits, you're like, this is not the right place for me, then there's no strings attached for further care. But I guarantee you one thing, you're going to like us. So here's your certificate. Treat it like cash because that's what you paid for it. And I put a smiley face on this one because I like you. Take that. Don't lose it. High five. We'll see you at the office. Thanks for letting us earn your business today.
Very cool.
I've said that
That's great stuff.
Million times.
At least a million, yeah.
And then they're like, so am I going to see you at the office? I go, no, Doc's just really smart and he hired me to come out here to find you. So you're going to go see Dr. Steve, but he's awesome. You're going to love him.
Very cool. Yeah. Yeah. I got to go find the next one of you tomorrow.
Well, that's what it is. It's a system. I created a program called New Patients in a Box. If you go to my website, chirohustle.com, there's a tab at the top of it called New Patients in a Box. You can download our free cheat sheet, which gives you the basically the shopping list that you need to go out and put an event on by yourself. So you get all the resources that you need that I recommend every client that I ever work with to go and buy. So go get the free cheat sheet and get the resources that I tell you to get. And, if you wanted to buy the course, it's for sale. And if you wanted to hire me, I'm for hire. So I think that's the thing is most of the docs that have bought that course, they're like, dang, I don't want to do this still. I'm like, well, cool. You can hire me now. So
all right.
It's been a really great way to get business and to build trust with people because they're like, wow, 19 modules. You had to create 19 modules to teach somebody how to get new patients. I was like, it could be a lot more.
Very cool. So, James, I appreciate you sharing that with us. That's a real nice peek behind the curtain of how you do things. And it's certainly something I'm going to be telling my marketer to go look into. So I have a full-time marketer that works for me, and that was a game changer for me. But nonetheless, still, I think it's time for she and you to have a conversation.
I'm always here to serve, and I believe that, chiropractic needs to have people protecting the sacred trust, whether it's a podcast that I run or whether it's a new patient that I go out there and harvest from your community. People need to hear the truth of what chiropractic can do for them. And a lot of times people will come to me, Dr. Steve, and I'll have them do the little questionnaire. And I'll say, did you injure yourself? Are you doing anything for this? Have you ever considered chiropractic? And I will tell them based on that, wow, you're an ideal candidate for what we do. I know we can help you. Would you like to know how we can help you? And they always say yes. So I think once again, not only the students, but the people want to be invited in, and they want to be a part of the community. So if we can create that from a sales perspective, or we can create that from reciprocity, people just want to be a part of something that they believe in.
For sure. Well, James, I'm super excited to hear you speak this coming weekend. It's going to be a great event from what I understand. We've got so many people coming this weekend. It's going to be one of our bigger events, and that's going to be great for so many people to get exposed to you and your message. So yeah, everybody you see there is going to be in Atlanta this weekend.
I'm really excited to be invited. I'm thankful to be a part of your community. You know, I'm excited to be able to build influence within the Georgia chiropractic group and let people see there are different ways. One of my mentors would tell me, the one thing you have to change is everything.
Right.
So if we look at it from that approach, then we can make chiropractic better as we all go forward together. And one of my other mentors will always tell me, we're all more alike than we are different.
Very true. We have so much more in common than we do different.
Mm-hmm. So I love you because you love what I love, and that's chiropractic. And that's a BJ Palmer quote.
And that's a good one. No doubt about that. Well, James, thanks so much for your time today. And honestly, thanks for everything you do for our profession. There's not enough people in the profession who aren't also DCs fighting for us as hard as it seems like you do. And I thank you very much for that.
Well, I believe I'm a part of a big chiropractic family. And I thank you for seeing me, acknowledging me, and inviting me in. So I look forward to our time together over this next weekend. And if there's anything I can do to help anybody out there that will watch this on replay or hear it live, just let me know. I'm just one call away.
Very good. All right. Thanks again. And to all the audience, I hope we see you this weekend at the convention as well.
All right, guys. Bye for